I've done a lot of film breakdowns this year on rookie corners, and it's not because of my love for the defensive back position, it's because 2022 is shaping up to be a historically good cornerback class. 10 rookie corners over the last 5 years have earned PFF coverage grades of 75 or higher. 5 of those are from this rookie class. And number 10 on this list is Martin Emerson, who the Browns drafted with the 68th overall pick out of Mississippi State. This past week, he held Mike Evans to 0 catches on 6 targets. And you could even say 7 targets because Evans got a pass interference call, so one of those doesn't show up in the actual box score. But what you see on these reps against Mike Evans is what Martin Emerson has been doing for his entire rookie season. I don't know if there's a rookie corner in the NFL who has a more difficult assignment on a snap-to-snap basis than Martin Emerson. He plays almost exclusively press man, where he's physical and aggressive at the line of scrimmage, but he's out on an island in single coverage, so if he gets beat at the start of the play, there usually isn't a safety net to help him out. And I want to start with 2 plays that really show why press coverage can be so effective. This first one is 3rd and 4. Emerson's lined up on Drake London. London fakes an outside release, and Emerson lands an inside hand punch. But Marcus Mariota's getting rid of the ball before Martin Emerson jams at the line of scrimmage. So he's throwing to a spot that Drake London physically can't get to because Martin Emerson has disrupted his route. And then next one against the Patriots, at the start of the snap, Devontae Parker accelerates and declares an outside release, but then Emerson's jam is so effective that it basically negates all of Parker's momentum, and Bailey Zappi has nowhere to go with the football. Especially with cornerbacks, I think it's important to look at the athletic profile to get a complete picture of when they're on an NFL field, where are they going to be in an advantage and where a team's going to try to exploit them. And when we look at Martin Emerson, you see hand size, arm length, height, weight, all above 80th percentile, 33.5-inch arms. That's better length than a lot of offensive tackles. And then even the 3-cone and short shuttle are pretty good, above 50th percentile, which is rare to see for a bigger cornerback. Usually that size comes along with a lot of stiffness, but that's not the case with Martin Emerson. The only drills where he tested below average were the 40-yard dash and the vertical jump, and as we'll get into, that creates some difficulties for him, but overall he has the prototypical athletic profile for the role that he's playing in Cleveland's defense. So right here, Emerson's matched up with Mike Evans. Right as Emerson extends for this 2-hand punch, Evans starts to execute this wipe technique where he throws down the inside hand to release contact, but Emerson does a great job adjusting his aiming point and landing his punch on top of the wipe. That way his hands aren't getting knocked away and he can replace this punch as he stays on top of the route. And then very similar rep against Gabe Davis. I'm not a huge fan of Davis's technique here. I don't like extending your arm at the line of scrimmage if you're not doing anything with it. He just kind of hangs this inside arm up in the air, gives Martin Emerson an easy point of contact. And then if you're going to play as physical at the line of scrimmage as Martin Emerson does, you've got to be able to stop quickly, because if receivers get disrupted at the line of scrimmage and they haven't stacked you, they're going to cut these vertical routes off into deep curls. And I've been really impressed by Emerson's ability to close off separation on these route adjustments. So a lot of Emerson's wins this season have just been physical dominance at the line of scrimmage, but he's also a really smart, crafty player, and he has a great understanding of game situation and how that should affect his technique. In short yardage situations, Martin Emerson likes to use this changeup where he'll essentially just turn his hips towards the sideline and grant the receiver an outside release. So right here, he doesn't punch at the line of scrimmage. You can tell T. Higgins is expecting him to jam, so he doesn't fully accelerate into this route, but Emerson just turns his hips, plays with underneath inside leverage, and he's watching the receiver so that he knows when to turn around and play the ball. Here's another one against LA. He basically forces the outside release, locks his hands, gets underneath the inside hip, and it's 4th and 2, so he knows that this can't be a long developing route that he's covering. It's way more likely that the offense is trying something quick inside as opposed to like a sail route to the sideline, so he doesn't even really have to turn around here. And then one more on T. Higgins. This time it's 4th down and 4. He gives the outside release and then just reads the wide receiver. Perfect timing to get his hand in the catching window and break up the pass. Another thing I noticed that relates to Martin Emerson's football IQ is how good he is at finishing through the play. A receiver getting open and even getting his hands on the ball, that's only half the battle when they're going up against a corner with as much length as Martin Emerson. He's done a really good job this year of applying contact throughout the process of the catch, whether that's getting his hand in between the receiver's arms, falling on top of him at the end to jar the ball loose, or just pushing him out of bounds. Every play you just get the sense that Martin Emerson has a great understanding of the situation and what technique he needs to play. So Martin Emerson's had a lot of production this year. He has 10 forced incompletions through week 12, which ranks 4th among cornerbacks, and he also isn't getting beat very often in coverage. This year, Martin Emerson's been targeted 18 times in man coverage, and he's only given up 4 receptions for 54 yards. And in total, he's given up 370 yards, which is pretty good given the number of snaps that he's played and how many of those snaps were press man. When you look at the plays where he's technically gotten beat, a lot of them aren't even that bad. This first one, if you've watched the Trent McDuffie video that I did last week, he got beat on a very similar play to Marvin Jones, also number 11. He misses with his hands at the line of scrimmage, but the footwork is good enough that 20 yards downfield, he's in a really good position. It's just so difficult, if not impossible, to defend an accurate hole shot like this, where the receiver's creating all of his separation at the very end of the route. You would just have to have generational reflexes and reaction time. So I don't count him off too much for this. Then he had this play where George Pickens makes arguably the best catch of all time. Hard to blame Martin Emerson too much for that one. And then he gave up this jump ball to Devontae Parker, where again, the coverage is really tight, and this is what Devontae Parker does best: win jump balls and contested catches. So these are all plays that Martin Emerson technically gave up, but when you evaluate the coverage, there's not really a whole lot to blame him for. So when the Browns drafted Martin Emerson, it didn't seem like they were really addressing an immediate need, but with Greg Newsome's play dropping off a cliff this season, hitting on Martin Emerson gives the Browns so much security at the cornerback spot. I'm a huge fan of Greg Newsome. I thought he was great last season, so I think he'll bounce back, but if he doesn't, you still have two high-quality corners on the outside. Thanks for watching. If you enjoy the video, make sure to like and subscribe. Also, let me know in the comments any players or teams that you'd like me to cover.